Hey guys, Megalithic Maiden here, JJ Ainsworth, and I'd like to talk to you a bit about something that I'm really interested in, which is symbols, and do a sort of short talk about some of them. I recently did this online through a live source, but I'm going to do it here as well. So the image you see right now is Manly P. Hall. And I want to read to you one of the quotes that he has in his Melchizedek and the Mystery of Fire. When the human race learns to read the language of symbolism, a great veil will fall from the eyes of men. They shall then know truth, and more than that. They shall realize that from the beginning, truth has been in the world unrecognized, save by a small but gradually increasing number appointed by the lords of the dawn as ministers to the needs of human creatures struggling to regain their consciousness of divinity. And from Mr. Hall's quote, I'd like to say that these lords of the dawn he speaks of may very well be you and me. Understanding the ways of these ancients and bringing to light lost information can really be a very helpful thing. We really don't know how to have a fruitful future if we cannot look upon the past and see what went wrong. Some of the oldest known and most recognizable symbols are spirals, and they are found practically everywhere on this earth that man has ever visited. From the simple to the complex, as you can see here, this is a beautifully designed curbstone at the ancient site of Nath in the Boyne Valley of Ireland. This detailed pattern set is possibly an ancient sundial or lunar calendar, according to archaeologists. But many folks looking at it wouldn't know how to figure that out. This type of decoding is very hard work. There are so many misconceptions about symbols, and it's very difficult to navigate the language of symbols, or even sometimes to try and narrow down a possible universal meaning to what may seem like even the most simplest of images. Basically, symbols are like super confusing. As far as we can tell, symbols existed long before the written word. And we've all heard the saying that a picture is worth 1,000 words, and this we all know is definitely true. Symbols can be tricky, and many may not have guessed they were looking at a modern spin on ancient vulva symbols. Images both modern and ancient can evoke different responses and meanings from different people, and this is because we base our explanatory ideas of what we perceive something may be from what we have personally experienced in the world. Everyone experiences different things, so an image can stimulate literally 1,000 different ideas from people depending on so many things. For example, some of these things are location, culture, poverty level, race, and this list goes on and on. So the decoding of symbols, I reiterate, is not an easy task, and it will never be done perfectly. This lovely image above is an African ivory amulet symbolizing a yoni from the Congo. All right, let's continue. The yin-yang design is another relatively simple symbol that is recognized the world over for its light and dark aspects that work together in harmony. This symbol portrays the balance of male to female importance in relation to life force and vitality, a literal circle of life. However, an interesting thing about this symbol is that if you ask where it originated from, most people would probably guess from an Asian country, perhaps China. This is the most often reply I get to the question anyway. The correct answer would have you going back in time by about 7,000 years, and into the modern-day areas of the southeastern European nations of Romania, Moldova, and the Ukraine. This long-lasting symbol had its originations with a very interesting people known as the Cucuteni Tripilia culture. This fascinating group of folks existed during the Neolithic and Copper Ages. I also find this bit of information interesting, that from about 4000 to 3500 BC, the Cucuteni Tripilia culture built the largest settlements in Neolithic Europe, some of which contained as many as 3,000 structures and were possibly inhabited by upwards of 20,000 to 40,000 people. Most likely this was able to happen because they were predominantly a peaceful culture, probably egalitarian or matriarchal. Strangely, this culture also burned each of their settlements between every 60 to 80 years, and then rebuilt newer structures atop the ash. The reasoning behind this is not known and debated heavily. Amazing, at the Poduri site in Romania, it was revealed 13 habitation levels that were constructed on top of each other over many years. That is a lot. Also, just wanted to mention that this culture also partook in the lengthy 12,000 year plus history that the swastika has maintained through cultures across the world. I think in the Cucuteni Tripilia culture, the swastika may have related to feminine fluidity of movement and many other things as well, particularly relating to travel. Now, let me change pace a bit because I'd like to speak about some of my favorite symbols, and they just happen to be related to the goddess. And this is because I've found that the oldest type of symbols generally relate to the female. It's quite interesting. These images depict vestiges of the ancient mother goddess, one from Mesopotamia on the left and the other two on the right from Malta. These cultures are 5,000 years old and more. The Maltese sites are known for their bulky, fertile, and curvy goddesses, whom they revered so very much. So much so that they even designed their megalithic temples to mimic the shape of this very fertile woman, hoping she would then pay respects to them by letting their land be just as fertile, just as bulky and heavy. Goddesses, they came in all shapes and forms, hybrids of this type of animal and that, but never are they always full of only motherly love aspects. The goddess was also the keeper of the sacred celestial fire and the hearth. In very ancient times, this was known across the world. In the image, you see examples of this from Çatalhöyük in Turkey, Argentina, the Indus Valley, and even an example from Egypt, which is the famous schist disc, which many people see as a piece of technology or a lotus vase. And I want to speak a bit about why the women may have been in charge of the hearth, the heart. Well, the women were generally upkeepers of the home, and they did the cooking, and that, with the heat, they were the first probably constructors of clay vessels. They were probably the first agriculturalists, the first architects. And I'm not just saying that, there's a lot of proof in this. It is hard to deeply go into, but in some of my future lectures, I will try to delve into that a bit more. And owls. Owls are a very old form of the goddess, especially when in combination with mazes or labyrinths. Owls as the goddess are a global phenomenon. this really cute little artifact here, an owl and bird of prey, and again, the oldest form of the goddess. The wise old owl is an aspect of the old crone in the pagan triple goddess spiral. Often owls can seem quite destructive, and they are. They have to be. Owls are predatory, sharp, and vicious, but very necessary. They are fierce protectresses of their young. This image of an owl goddess really caught my attention. This particular one is over 3,000 years old, from old Europe, and it started me down a rather strange path, one I will likely be on for a very long time to come. Now, the image here is a Telbrak eye idol, and it's from Syria, 4000 BC estimated, and it is also predominantly focused on the eyes, because I believe it to be an owl in the mother form protecting her child. And again, the previous image of the owl eyes. And here, yet another really ancient artifact from old Europe. And I cropped this artifact because I really wanted to focus in on the eye area. I want to get it very firm in your mind what you're looking at here. Okay, continuing on the topic, but now moving towards the Hittite country in Turkey, Anatolia. Well, this is the Hittite symbol for God. Now, I firmly believe that at one time this would have been goddess. And the time this symbol probably changed over to a more patriarchal or male power symbol would have been during the Kurgan, after the Kurgan wave, after they came down and sort of interfered with the more peaceful groups of people and started combat and started warlike incursions. And that's the time that these symbols became a bit confused and maybe moved towards androgynous and then finally over to a more fatherly, stronger, sort of masculine image. I think, though, they started out as a feminine, as the owl eyes. And here is just a drawing for you to see if it's easier to focus on what I'm talking about here. And again, this is the same god symbol from the Hittites. Above the box, or combined together, it is sort of like the god symbol and the ark below it, the carrier of the deity. Now here on the right is where I got the god symbol from. It's a Hittite stele. Now, I want you to understand that this old symbol was a global phenomenon from South America, North America, every country you can, Asia, China. It was there, but it was just misconstrued, misunderstood, misdiagnosed to the meaning. And it is the symbol that even in the Thunderbolts project, I don't know if some of you have seen that, they have a sort of symbol like this, but they call it a plasma wave. I think it's maybe partly that, but originally I think it had to do with this triple goddess, the old mother, the owl. Now, I have this image on the left, which is from the Hittite area, and it's the Hittite Luwian writing, and it has the god symbol, and it's connected to the Magnus, or the Mons, the mountain, so the great god of the mountain. and above it is the bird, which is probably a predatory bird, probably beginning as an owl and maybe changing to some other type when the patriarchal times came in and changed. And this god symbol with the obelisk or the mountain rising from within it, on each side of that wishbone looking figure on each side, that's a feminine vulva symbol. And I guess it might be very difficult for some people to sort of see this and recognize what it is, but I will try. If you have questions about it, please email me or Facebook me, and I'll try to give you some imagery, because it is really hard to explain symbols if you don't have the correct images right in front of you. So just showing you on the left and right that they are the same portrayed image. Okay, so I was talking about Turkey, which was old Anatolia, and that's where I am at the moment. I went to Göbekli Tepe, and I visited the lovely museum, the Sanliurfa Museum, and I'm standing in actual size reconstructions of the enclosures there, because at Göbekli Tepe you're not allowed within the enclosures because they are very fragile and they are so very old. They do not want any damage occurring to them. Now, going back to that God symbol, I just want you to look here a bit. Just keep this in your mind. Now, Göbekli Tepe again. At the top, on the side, there's this sort of C, an inverted C on the right, and an H symbol. Now, I firmly believe that this is the god-goddess symbol. Now, Göbekli Tepe, as of now, is the oldest civilization structure built with megaliths. So this is really, as we all know, an important site, and it has a lot to do with symbolism. There's a lot of amazing carvings there. I think you should go for yourself to visit it. But I think right in front of us, right in front of our eyes, is distinctly showing this deity, this higher deity symbol. Now, on the left again is a T-pillar from Göbekli Tepe, and about the bottom half of the Göbekli Tepe T-pillar here on the left, you see this symbol, which is the symbol I've been showing you. It's just rotated. And on the right, you see this Australian Aboriginal gentleman with the same image painted on his chest. And this was first pointed out by my friend, author Andrew Collins. Now, the image from just a second ago, and I inverted and, well, I rotated the image to show you how similar it is to the deity symbol, the goddess, the god symbol here. And I really just don't think this is coincidence. So I think what that was showing us at Göbekli Tepe is the same symbol. Now, I wanted to do a bit further research, so I tried to find some information about the meanings of the symbols that are on this gentleman's chest. And I found some interesting things, because these horseshoes, or C and inverted C, mean woman and man, apparently. That is really intriguing, guys. And going back to the goddess, the creatrix, the closest you could get to a deity would be someone that creates life. A life creator is someone that is awe-inspiring, powerful, and that would have been the feminine. So the creatrix, I think, is being shown here. The power of the two is quite amazing. Now, I also want to talk about another culture of mine that's really close to my heart, and it's the Olmec civilization of Mesoamerica. And they were also down into South America a bit as well, but mainly the Gulf Coast in Mexico. And at Jalapa Museum here on the left is this shaman jaguar anthropomorphic figure. And he is holding the same imagery that we see as the deity symbol. If you put his hands together, you're going to get the same symbol. It's a symbol for measurement, the same symbol for the ring and rod symbol that the elite carried in ancient times. It is the shin ring, where only in Egypt the cartouches contained the names of the royals only. And here on the right, the middle image, that is another Olmec image. And the right, of course, is the Hittite symbol for the goddess, and below is the Aboriginal symbol. And this rod and ring, or the shin ring, this power symbol, you see here again on the tablet of Shamash. It's dated to the reign of King Nabu Apla Edina, about 888 to 855 BC. And he's holding this shin ring, also known, as I said, as the ring and rod, which are measuring tools of the elite. Now, we were able to sort of come out of the Stone Age and build up cities and architecture and farm because we were able to use mathematics and measuring tools. And this giant of a man on the right holding this shin ring is an elite because he knew the way to do that. He had the tools, this information that most people didn't. And here is the rod and ring symbol held again by the Queen of the Night from the Babylonia. And she has two of the shin rings, just like the Olmec were holding, just like that Shamash deity in the previous picture. And she is anthropomorphic. She has her owls, she has her wings, she has her horns of power atop her head, the Magnus Mons. In fact, that is another representation of the deity. And she's standing on the feline, and the Olmecs were into their feline worship. Their shamans transformed from man to feline and became powerful. And the owls flank her. So I think it's really important that we understand there is so much information here, so much for us to really consider. We don't quite understand everything that is going on, but we can, if we pay attention, we can understand a lot. So this sacred symbol of the elite, the deity, it has many layered images, but we know it was used around the world in a much earlier time. So the mainstream timeline, I think, is not exactly correct. Maybe we'll get closer to the truth soon. I'm not saying this theory here is absolutely correct, but I think it's quite close. And I just want to say thank you guys very much for listening to this, and I will continue with this topic in another lecture whenever I get a bit more time. Okay guys, thanks very much.